All right, so let's get straight into it. Now, we all know measuring food waste is very important and we should do our part, but do we always know where to begin? Let's begin with Brian Lipinski. Brian is the co-author of the Food Loss and Waste Accounting and Reporting Standard, which is the world's first and much needed global standard for quantifying and reporting on food loss and waste. This is a very big deal. The reporting standard is part of a roadmap that should keep us honest about our progress along the way. He's the research associate at the World Resources Institute with the Food Program, and he manages the 10-20-30 initiative, which is a training program for businesses to account and measure food loss and waste. He is a man who knows about the importance of data, so he's the perfect beginning for our conference. So Brian, let's get into it.
Thank you so much for that introduction. It's so wonderful to be with you all today. Yes, my name is Brian Lipinski with the World Resources Institute, and I'm located in Washington, D.C. So sadly, I won't be able to join you for the in-person component tomorrow, but I'm thrilled to be able to join you through the miracle of technology. And just on a personal note, I've been working on this issue since the early 2010s, and it's a thrill to see this sort of event take place where there's enough interest in this topic and enough understanding of the importance of something like measurement of food waste. We wouldn't have been able to have this event when I first got started, so it's really wonderful to be here. Just to start, I'm going to go over some key statistics. I think a lot of us are already familiar with these data points, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but about 1/3 of the world's food is lost or wasted each year, somewhere between farm and fork. Some recent estimates place that number even higher. That results in huge economic losses as well to the global economy and huge environmental impact as well. So just looking at greenhouse gas emissions, for example, about 8% of annual greenhouse gas emissions are due to food loss and waste. And so just to put that in perspective, if food loss and waste were its own country, it would be the world's third largest emitter after China and the United States. And so we don't want food waste nation to be so significant. We want to cut that number down. And so that's why it's so important that we tackle food waste. And so measurement is a key aspect to that. This isn't just a global challenge or a global problem, it's also a global opportunity to generate benefits for people's livelihoods, to help feed more people who need it, and to reduce some of that environmental impact. So what's already happening on this issue? We know that a lot's already taking place. So for example, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, these were adopted by all United Nations member states, and there's one specific target, Target 12.3, which aims to have global food waste with the end goal of 2030. Also the 10 by 20 by 30 initiative that Elka mentioned in the introduction. This is a partnership between some of the world's largest retailers and their suppliers to start addressing food loss and waste within their own operations. The Consumer Goods Forum is a CEO-led organization that's also identified food waste as one of the major challenges facing businesses and aiming also for that 2030 goal of reducing food loss and waste by 50%. And then the Food Waste Atlas is a repository of data from countries, companies, researchers, whoever else. You can publish your own data on the Food Waste Atlas, in fact, so at this atlas, data is publicly available and encouraging further reporting and openness about food waste. So you might say to me, Brian, we already know that there's a problem. We know there's an issue here. Why do we care about measurement? Why can't we just jump right ahead to action? And so I would say that the reason for that is that measurement helps to inform smart action. You can take actions all you want, but if it's not backed up by data, you're not going to know if it's effective or if it's addressing the most important issues, the most pressing issues. So for a business, measurement helps you to understand where in your operations to most focus your efforts to have the biggest impact. And so you can see on this slide, actually, in one study that we conducted with our partners at WRAP, we found that businesses who invested $1 for every $1 in food loss and waste measurement and reduction, they yielded $14 in return. That's a big return. And some of that is just from the benefit of measurement. Once you've got a handle on what's happening, you see the problem. You start taking action without even consciously realizing it. So that's why measurement is so important for companies, for countries, and for governments. Measurement helps to target the action towards the stages of the food supply chain that need it the most, the geographies that need it the most, and the food types that need it the most. So measurement also helps us to understand how we're doing over time. So we need to know what's successful and what's not so that we can refine our efforts over time and achieve those big goals of that 50% reduction target. Companies are already doing some of this, and I've highlighted just three here, three big names that you've probably heard of. There are many more examples. Tesco was the first retailer to publish their food waste data and now have encouraged their suppliers to do the same. This actually inspired the 10 by 20 by 30 initiative and has continued to have ripple effects. So by being leaders in this space, Tesco has made this issue more prominent for others and more important and in the public sphere. Ahold Delhaize is also publishing its food loss and waste data publicly and using it to alter their entire operations to address food waste. So from changing inventory practices to marking down products sooner to being able to donate more food than they may have in the past, they're harnessing all that data to create action that really matters. And then Arla Foods, the dairy cooperative, has made use of data in a really innovative way, where in each of their facilities, they measure food loss and waste data and share that in between the facilities. And so if one facility, for example, has higher milk losses and another facility has low milk losses, they're able to compare those facilities and understand what one facility might be doing that can then be imported over to the other to share those best practices. So again, these are just a few examples, but these are all companies who are using data to make smart, informed decisions about tackling this huge issue. And so my challenge to you as we go throughout these next 2 days, it's actually twofold. The first, I would say, is to don't let this be another conference where you just listen to some speakers and say, well, that was nice and I learned a little bit and now I'm just going to go back to my life. Um, Try to come up with 2 or 3 concrete actions that you can take. Think about who you need to involve. Think about who you can reach out to, who you can partner with, and see how you can actually start addressing food loss and waste within your own world. It doesn't have to be the next global initiative that's going to completely solve the entire issue, but every little bit adds up. And the second piece that I would challenge you to keep in mind going forward is to not lose sight of what we're talking about when we talk about food waste. It's easy to get wrapped up in big numbers and statistics and forget what food really is to all of us. Food is important to our lives. Food is important to our cultures. And that's why I think this slogan of measure what you treasure is so important. Um, Remember that this is what we treasure. We're doing this because food is so important to us. So again, thank you for this opportunity to be with you all. I'm so excited for the rest of this event, and it's been a real treat to be able to kick things off for you all. So thank you so much for having me, and I wish you a successful, informative event.
Thank you so much, Brian. That was fantastic.